And here now is Mike Braun, U.S. Senator from Indiana. Senator Braun, thank you for being with us. Congressional Democrats successfully raised the debt limit. Now they're trying to pass President Biden's Build Back Better agenda in time for Christmas. The CBO score strengthens GOP opposition to the plan, primarily that it's way more expensive than the nearly $2 trillion price tag. Senator Braun, how confident are you Republicans can keep up the blockade?
Well, we really are complaining about it mostly because the blockade, ironically, is within their own party. And that's how dangerously close we are to not only this, but remember Bernie Sanders had his way. He was talking $12 trillion worth of this stuff. They've already done the American Family Rescue Plan. They always have enticing names. That was roughly $2 trillion. This is now coming in around 2. And yeah, they've already raised the debt ceiling to accommodate it. So I think in this case, it's a question of how much their own party is going to end up, being the roadblock to it. It's Republicans. We can't really do much.
You mentioned in a press conference that BBB will negatively impact faith-based child care providers. How so?
That's part of where the text isn't even fully fleshed out. Talked to Joe Manchin today. One reason he's steadfastly against it for its general issues. They don't even have the details. Some of this stuff is still in committees. We just know that the people that have gleaned the information from it, the ones that will be impacted, say that it will. We just did a press conference on that very subject earlier today, 9 or 10 of us, and that was brought up by Senator Sass from Nebraska. And that was the couple minutes that he dwelled on, saying that it could take religious-based child care completely out of play, and it's going to make the cost per child to go up a ridiculous amount based upon some of the things they're wanting to force into the system. That doesn't make them any difference. Whatever it costs, borrow it. I made the point. Look at what we're doing. We're asking our children with their kids to borrow the money to boot for all of this. So it is misdirected in so many ways, not only the particularity of the policy, but how they're going to pay for it, which is always borrowing from our kids and our grandkids, shrugging off like that doesn't mean anything.
You mentioned Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. As we see inflation at a 40-year high, the CBO score that came back was less than favorable for Democrats. Senator, are there other Democrats beside Manchin and Sinema that you're hearing who maybe feel like they feel and aren't okay with these numbers, but don't maybe feel like they can speak out or be quite as vocal?
Sadly, they toe the party line. And I think one of their calculations is, and that's our fault. Whenever this moment of opportunity arises, look at the Affordable Care Act, should have been called the Unaffordable Care Act back in, I think, 2010. We don't undo it. It always grows. That's part of this Build Back Better, to put even more subsidies into the Affordable Care Act. And all the other senators, even the ones that are in swing states up for election in 2022, they still toe the party line and generally roll over, don't want to buck the system. Kyrsten Sinema is in a state where I think she pays attention to what her constituents say. Joe Manchin is in one of the most conservative states in the country. He certainly needs to. And for us, for Republicans as a party, when we get the reins back based upon all the things that have happened since Biden has taken control, we better really be concerned about what do we do with it. Are we kind of political wallflowers when we get the reins back? How much of this will we undo? I know people I talk to back in Indiana get upset with the fact that we complain about it. What do we do about it when we are calling the shots? I'm going to be very vocal about that.
Inflation hurting Americans and really tanking the president's poll numbers. It may also be the thing that kills the hope of West Virginia, of Joe Manchin signing on to Build Back Better. Your thoughts on President Biden's handling of the economy and a possible move toward raising interest rates to fight inflation?
I mean, there's all that stuff. The inflation issue has been really laying low because pre-COVID, I come from the productive side of the economy. By the way, the Democrats don't appreciate that. They believe in government as your sole kind of a benefactor in life and willing to borrow the money. Higher interest rates, that's how we had to wring out inflation. For anybody that can remember when 10% was a bargain on a home mortgage. They went up to almost 18% back in the early 80s. And we're in that territory right now. The Fed, Jay Powell, who I spoke to here recently, he said it's not transitory. And when the Fed is saying that, they're going to back off on their easing. They're going to start tightening. And what comes along with that are higher interest rates. With all the debt bedded into the economy, especially at the government level, where we're now 30 trillion in debt, only 18 when I came in 3 years ago, but we're spenders and consumers now. Back when we were this in debt coming out of World War II, we were savers and investors, paid off all the World War II debt, built the interstate highway system. Can you imagine that in this day and age when we borrow so much money to get the things that you want on your wish list, and it's at the detriment of our kids and our grandkids because we're borrowing it, we're not paying for it.
All right, Senator Mike Braun of Indiana, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us today.
You bet.